Hello, lovely souls. I am so excited to be here with you today. This is Halloween, and I would like to start off with a prayer as usual. God and Goddess, thank you so much for this lovely day, even though the sun is not shining so much and it's cloudy. Thank you for all of the blessings that you have given us and all the beauty that surrounds us, even on the cloudy days. Please help us to remember why we came here and to lead and live with love and kindness and compassion to become more like you and to ascend the golden ladder and make this world a better place. In the name of Elohim I pray. Amen. Today is actually the Nasarean Sabbath, and the midday noon contemplation is our God and Goddess, immanent and transcendent, send to all your angel of peace. To your spiritual kingdom, send the angel of eternal life. The Sabbath is always a great day for studying the scriptures and trying to deepen your spiritual relationship with God and Goddess and all of those things that come along with that. Recently, there has been some relevancy to the story of Samson in my own personal life, and I wanted to share with you a little passage from the Glory of Kings, which is in the Holy Megillah, the Nazarean Bible of the Essene way, translated by Dave Greenleaf and available at essene.org. This story of Samson in this book is a little bit different than we read in the Bible, the mainstream Bible. In Samson, this is chapter 3, verse 29, it says, Samson was not only of a long line of priests and priestesses, but was of the Nasarean royal bloodline of Abraham through Noah, which Noah was Isaac, and there's a difference in the theology of the Nazarenes and how we see some of the different entities that we're told about in the mainstream Bible. But this in particular, again, is about Samson. And like it said, he was from this royal Nazarene bloodline and also from a long line of priests and priestesses. And we read more in the story about how Delilah was actually from a Luciferian or satanic bloodline, and her father was part of this order, and we see that she was actually sent in to corrupt Samson. And this is so relevant to all of us, regardless of if we're part of the Nazarene royal bloodline or if we're just an average person who came here to be an ambassador for Lord and Lady Christ and be the light in this dark world. In verse 267, we see Samson is shocked, and he says, "But lo, if they desired to harm me, why not just kill me? Certainly they had ample opportunity. And what of Delilah?" Sheba replied with serious voice, "Know this, Samson, there are far worse things than physical death. And there are far worse things than death that an enemy might plan for a Nazarean. Lo, you are not only a Nazarean lion, you are the son of the Yair, the high priest, and you are of the royal bloodline of Abraham and Sarah. To kill you is little sport to the Luciferians. You will just be given another body by the Lord and Lady. But to convert you to their way, now that is great sport indeed. Not only do they enjoy that sort of sport, they feed from it. For behold, they are a nasty sort of parasite. Every time you stumble, they feed. Every time you feel or cause pain, they feed. Every step into darkness you take, they feed. Any human being is to them a potential meal, but Nazarenes are a potential feast. And you, with your lineage, are a potential feast of feasts. Yea, the thought of turning you to their way is enough to make these parasites salivate. But they need not convert you to great darkness to have victory. Behold, if they but help you stumble enough that you forget your mission and become but an average human being, they win. For in doing so, they prevent you from performing the mission you were given before birth. Worse yet, if they cause you to fall into a deep enough sleep, you might tumble down the ladder of consciousness and never awaken. Wherefore, to kill your body is but a small prize, but to help you tumble into denser realms of forgetfulness and sleep, that is the prize for these parasites. Man, the story of Solomon is so, it goes really deep that they were trying to plant these seeds. They understood that Solomon had proclivities towards beautiful women, and that's why Delilah was sent in to cause him to come into the order of the Satanists, essentially, and to hopefully corrupt him. But if they can't corrupt him, they would corrupt his bloodline. And if you actually read the story, Samson and Delilah's son Shamuth was being behind Samson's back, fed meat, and brought into these different ritualistic parties or celebrations, gatherings, whatever that the Satanists were already doing. And oh my gosh, this story is so interesting. So if you haven't read it, I would definitely encourage you to, and I will go through reading all of this to you in the future. But it's really interesting how the powers that be, I mean, they know all of our weaknesses. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. What is a temptation for you isn't a temptation for me. Maybe the gluttonous food part isn't as much of a temptation for you, and you have your own temptations in another way, right? So we all have our own downfalls and ways that we will allow those demons to come in and influence us in whatever wrongdoings or abuse of the seven chakras that can be had, and they know how to target each one of us. And it is so relevant for those of us that decided to come in during this time of awakening, of peril, of tribulation. We came in here for a certain mission, to be the light, to be the warriors that stand against this darkness. And if the evil ones can get us to be corrupted, to forget our way and all of these other things, that is where they actually, you're still alive, right? So they still get to parasite off of your energy and all of that, all of the pain that you feel, that you cause, that all of these different mechanisms, like killing you, like it said, it's killing you would just be actually the easy way out, and that would just be the end of the corruption. If they can get all of us, not just you but me too, if they can get us to fall into corruptive ways and to stumble off the path, that's where they feed, and that's what they want to do for us. So they know how we all are most easily corrupted, and they will provide opportunities in this world for those things to come about. And they can be presented in good ways but then turn into bad ways, and it's just a hard, contested world. But knowing that our enemy they don't actually like want to kill us. Even when we're thinking of the depopulation agenda, they want people to be sick and dumbed down slaves. It's not like they're trying to kill us all from birth. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be here, right? They actually want us to live for whatever extended time that they want, and then they can siphon energy off of us the whole time. So parasites don't benefit from dead hosts, they benefit from alive hosts, and they keep us at that barely alive, especially in your older years. Older, because what we've been taught is older is so young. If humans are not even fully maturing until 200 years old, you can think of like our lifespan being hundreds of years in vibrant youth. Um, it's just crazy how they have shortened that, but they keep us alive so that they can suck that energy and the light out of us. And I think this story is just really relevant for all of us because of the times that we're in, and understanding the different ways that the enemy will corrupt us is important. So hopefully that resonates with you a little bit, and you can see in what ways that the powers that be might try to corrupt all of us and keep us into their ways. Knowing how they operate is really important so that we can ultimately stand against them. So anyways, hello, Z Proxy. Z Proxy says, I say there is no Comet 3I. David E says, Z Proxy, I agree, it is a psyop, but may serve as a catalyst for Satan's blue beam fake alien invasion psyop. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Z Proxy says, the NPC, the ones that took the jab, the ones who support Ukraine are long gone. They may have no soul or spirit left. That whole topic is very interesting because I at a fundamental level don't believe that there are when we think about the Truman Show that we're living in, these NPCs or the characters or like all of the people that were in Truman's life, it's not that they don't have souls, they're just these inverts or the ones that have sold out to the system, the seraphim artificials, or well, probably not them, but just these different entities that have sold out to the system and agreed to be part of that. But they still have souls. We all are at a fundamental level this spark of Yah, and that is what we are, this being, this expansive being, consciousness and bliss. That is at a fundamental level what we are, and none of us can get away from that. As far as being a soulless entity, you can, as a soul, give your control over to demons, which honestly, when you look out into this reality, so many humans have given control to those demons, whether again, it's whatever demon comes back to you at a fundamental level the worst, right? For me, a lot of my control has been given over to the gluttony demon. Like, I just like to eat, and like, so that is something that I indulge in. But for other people, there are other sins that do lead to more corrupting paths. And so I don't know where I was going with all that, but we all are that divine spark of Yah. We're the soul, and then that soul is put into a vessel, and that vessel, we see in the Megillah that Adam and Eve's shield of light, their Magen Haor, their aura, this bubble of protection, this sphere around them, was actually weakened when they started to kill and eat animals, and that allowed the demonic entities to come into their existence and start to whisper into their ear. As I've said before, oh, I'm listening to my body and I just needed meat. No, actually, you're listening to the demon that has attached itself to your body that will indeed die if you do not feed it meat. That is what keeps it attached to you, the meat-eating demon, and it will die if you don't feed it. That is true. But they confuse it, and so you think that you yourself will die, and that's just not a true situation. So as far as NPCs go, I think that not only are we dealing with the inverts that have knowingly chosen to do that, but we're also dealing with humans who have over time given more and more control to the demons, and they don't realize that, and they associate too much with that demon. And so, detaching from that is hard. And it's kind of interesting how the Megillah actually references books like the Clementine Homilies and the Clementine Recognitions, which I was exposed to before I came across this. And they explained how demons wanted to live vicariously through us and some different things along those lines, and how they can integrate themselves with us. And even more so, how upon death, especially if you're trying to go up and ascend, those demons can't come with you, and you've kind of bound yourself to them. And this idea of going through a purification fire, and the demons kind of get burnt off. That's where they, that's the element that they are. And so they kind of go with that. And your soul, though, has to go through that purification fire, and your soul is not part of that flame. And so those things have to be burned off of you, and you have to go through this process. And it's a lot more painful as a soul. So, anyways, I say all of this because the whole topic of NPCs is a little bit confuzzling on purpose. And yeah, I don't believe that there are any real soulless entities. A soul is what we are, and you can't get away from that. I mean, even when you upload yourself to the cloud and you become enslaved light, you're still a soul. And I don't, all of things haven't been revealed to me yet, so I don't know exactly how the ones that have uploaded themselves come to the recycling process. But we hear about the other ones that are recycled that just fall into those dark spirals, and how they are brought back into to be the living manure of the new world that is created. And in, I don't know, for me, coming from mainstream Christianity, there's such a hope in that, and like a beautiful, like, I don't know, it's really nice to know that even our family members, if they aren't aligned with the truth, there's still hope for them regardless. And yeah, there's been so much change in my life since the Megillah, and my heart has opened up with so much love and compassion. If I could promote one thing to people, it would be to just read this and really just go in with, like, I really want the truth, and I am open to the truth wherever it leads. And if it conflicts with what I've been taught before, that's okay. I just want to know what the truth is. And that's where God and Goddess can step in and be like, all right, let me take you on some wild adventures, because what you thought that you knew is so wrong. And flat earthers especially can understand that too. What we thought was real, it's like we've been taken on a ride, and it's like, whoa, the complete opposite is true. There is so much truth that comes from this book that can also do that same thing to you. And my recent videos have talked about the irritation and frustration that I've had with mainstream Christians, because they're just like, all right, we'll be open to flat earth and all of these other truths, but they're just like, they're not willing to question their religious programming. Honestly, the best thing that you can do is question God and be like, really? Are you the one that like requires animal sacrifice? Like, why, if you are all powerful in all of this, why can't you forgive me by just forgiving me? Why do you need me to go and sacrifice some animal? Why do I have to shed? If you're all powerful, why do I have to go and do something that I already know inside is wrong? If you haven't got to that point yet, there's something in you that knows that animal sacrifice is wrong. If we were talking about some African tribe, like, I don't mean to, like, I'm not trying to be racist or something. I'm just talking about like a tribe that might be in the wilderness somewhere, and we're like, they sacrifice animals to their thunder gods, or like, and we just paint the same exact thing in this off country that's like, people would be like, oh my God, that's so bizarre. Like, you guys kill lamb for like a better harvest. Like, I don't know, but if we rephrased it in a different way, it would be so bizarre and like foreign to us. And we need to tap into that intuition and be like, this mainstream Bible that we have been, not this, I love this. This mainstream Bible that we have been programmed with has very questionable things coming from God. And trust your intuition. You know inside that the creator of you doesn't need you to go and kill some doves in order to forgive you. Like, think about yourself in the position of a good parent. Would you require your child that you love and just adore no matter what they do wrong? Sorry, you lied to me, kiddo. Better go and catch some pigeons and and cut their head and snap their necks and all this. It's messed up. And so everyone, I think, fundamentally knows that this God that we are presented with is wrong. And I think that we jump through hoops to try to make it make sense because we're afraid and whatever. Really good. Thank you. Yeah. We jump through hoops, especially the younger that you're like given this information. It's just like the globe earth. Why doesn't water fall off this ball? Oh, shut up and listen. There's gravity. Like, and you're an idiot if you believe the other thing. And so there's like this gaslighting effect of like, it's just an interesting thing because it's not ever just one. Here's this other side of the information. It's like there's ridicule, there's coercion, there's threats, there's all these other things that came along with the deception. And so it's kind of interesting to like look back through history and see how all these deceptive things have been forced on humanity and all that. So anyways, I got off on a long tangent about NPCs that I didn't mean to, but the NPCs that took the, oh wait, I remember that. Okay. And now the latest is the non-human AI to make the final change on the NPC. David D says the AI will eventually be used to trap souls in enslaved light. We are on this path if we do not change direction. That is so true. See, Proxy says, what you mean by trap? And David says, Satan has the technology to trap souls in light inside these AI chips. This way, these souls can be immortal and avoid God's judgment, but must serve Satan forever in AI and seraphim machines. Doesn't that remind you of this idea of like a genie in a bottle and like trapped soul that's like on a shelf? And in this case, I do believe that you're right. So many of these souls have done evil, and I'm thinking like there's been some things that have recently come up in my life that are relevant to this case of Solomon and the downward spiral that humans can fall into, and an understanding from like just trying to like remove myself from being attached or emotionally involved, and just like seeing the ways that humans can fall, and understanding that maybe there's a lot of humans that have done bad things and they've been led into corruption, and then that soul inside is just like, oh man, and there's turmoil between the physical and the soul doesn't really want to be in that situation. And yeah, it can be really sad because the soul maybe doesn't want to be like, wow, I did all of these things, even knowing that they were under demonic influence. They can be like, man, I really didn't agree with what I was doing. Like they can see themselves how they've been tempted and led into corrupting and negative behaviors. But maybe they don't, at an ego, at a I don't want to admit that I was wrong, or I don't want to deal with the consequences of that, or all of these different things that, Satan comes along and says, hey, you know what? You've done a lot of bad things. How about you just upload yourself into consciousness? You don't have to die. You don't have to, face whatever happens after death. And yeah, it's really sad to think that his army is the most deceived of all of them. And they have been deceived into believing that they're not immortal, and that they will die at a fundamental level, and deceived into believing that there's not forgiveness from God and Goddess. And especially coming from a Christian background, it's hard to think of like a God that would just, oh, well, you lived as a pedophile or a murderer or all of these different things, and like kind of accepting that forgiveness that even the God of the Bible provides, right? When we read about Christ getting crucified, he's on the cross with bad people, and he says, you're forgiven. And so there's this idea of you can live a horrible life on your deathbed if you have true contrition and regret, that God will forgive you. And realistically, especially as the members of the Christ family, we should just be embodying that and trying to show that to our brothers and sisters, and understanding how it's, yeah, it can be really hard, but understanding how everyone has their own battles to fight, and for some people it is easier to succumb to sin than others, and it's in different areas, right? For me, it might be easier for me to pig out on some vegan junk food and just go to town on that and let the gluttony demon run free. And for other people, maybe they are more prone to gambling or sexual sins or other things, that drinking or drugs or anything. We're all targets, and whatever our weakness is that's where they target us the most. And I guess if one thing that I could leave you with saying is that, forgive yourself for the trespass of being human, and for all of the humanly desires and all of the programming and all of that, with the knowledge and with the intention of moving forward and changing. I'm definitely not trying to tell people to forgive themselves while they're still doing what they're doing. But like, we all stumble and fall, and there's always time for us to change and stop doing what we've been doing, no matter how devastating the outcome, no matter how whatever the worldly consequences are, whether it's loss of your job or your family or your any of these things. To get aligned with the actual way is going to be beneficial, because just as Christ says, the only dance worth dancing is that spiral dance upward into these higher heavens. And so all of these worldly desires, we need to work on, like, kind of killing and getting over that. So hello, Yavut says, I need a Turkish translator. That'd be pretty fun to have. These demons are parasites that feed on corrupting us, dragging our soul down into creating the hell realms. Exactly. It's so cool how the Megillah talks about the order of the parasites and kind of gives us a little bit of their inner workings, even in the temptations of Christ, which I haven't read here yet, but there is one of the temptations of Christ. The people that came to do it, it was like like 3 men or something that came to him to offer him different things, and one was talking exactly about the order of the parasites, and how they have learned that if they all work together, they can enjoy the spoil, the feast together rather than working alone. And so it shows their cohesion, and we can literally see that in our world today. It's like how they're all working together, the governments of our world, all of these different groups that are working together to suppress humanity, to dim our light, to feed off of us in our suffering in all these different ways. So it's really, really interesting how much detail it does go into. And I think even just for that alone, to understand that, well, side note, I don't think anyone that is a true spiritual seeker could read this book and leave thinking that it is not inspired by God and Goddess. But even if you aren't a true seeker and you're just looking for information and understanding about the situation that we're in, and the book of Enoch talks about the blessed path that we could be on, and the path that we're on right now, and how it goes into so much detail about the literal world that we're living in today, way more than your mainstream Bible. Sorry, but the prophecies blow the mainstream Bible out of the water. The mainstream Bible prophecies are like more vague and airy fairy, up in the air. Leave this to translation. But this book has exactly what we are going through right now, this AI transhumanism government takeover, where the master brain is hooked up to all of our workplaces and to the hospitals, to the government. And then this AI brain is going to be able to say, okay, well, sorry, little Tommy, but you cost more to society than you bring in. And so, sorry, if you get sick, cool for us. That gives us an easy out to that's what they are going for, right? And yeah, for that alone, I would definitely encourage it. If you're not really spiritual, just to see where we're at and the things that have been prophesied about this war that has taken place on countless worlds. It's the same thing over and over again, and that can lean into some jaded nature. She's like, wow, if we're just kind of doing this over and over again, then what's the point of fighting, or what's the point of even trying, and like, why? And frankly, I struggle with that myself, but I understand also that there's a bigger picture and that it is worth fighting. And even if we have been through similar wars and trials before, there are souls on the line, and what we do on a soul level is really important, and we should take that seriously. So, hello, artist, how's it going? Mike says, "Hey, beautiful Inanna. Hello, how's it going? Happy." I don't want to say happy Halloween because the way that the world celebrates Halloween sucks. But I will be on here. The parade in Ashland that I usually go to starts at 3:45 this evening. So I will be on in a few hours to kind of show you what's going on and walk through that a little bit, just to say hello. So, yeah. David G says the most important element for demonic possession is to invert your gender, turn against God's plan for you, walk the inverted path of Satan. Exactly. Killing and eating animals is literally the tip of the iceberg, and there are so many different corruptions to pull us into that inverted path of just inverted behavior, right? It's inverted how we interact with animals. It's inverted how we interact with the opposite sex. It's inverted how, all of these different things trying to lead up to this inverted agenda. And so all the programming that we have to fight against is, you're absolutely right. It's like the path of Satan and the path of Yah. Sadly, my ex-girlfriend is now in a mental institution where they often just drug their patients. I wish what I knew back then when 20 years old. Oh man, if there's a way to get her out, please help. I have been feeling called lately to just be an advocate for people that are abused, and in all the different ways, whether male or female. And it's really sad to see the amount of abuse and suffering and just bad stuff that is going on in our world today. Like, it's really, really heavy, especially if you're an empath and you can kind of feel that, and like you want to do stuff to change it and make things better. And it's really hard because so much of the deck is stacked against us. But I still, like, I guess with the Megillah, it's inspired more hope than anything. I lived as a mainstream Christian for a lot of years, and Napoleon, just cover me in your blood, forgive me of my sins, all of this stuff. But nothing really has inspired hope as much as this has. And knowing that even if the battle is lost, the war is not. And sometimes we do fail and sometimes we do stumble, but in the end, everything will be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. God desires our souls to rise up to 777 perfected light, but Satan desires to drag us into 666 hell realms. Exactly. Hello, soldier of Christ. And what is wrong with forgiveness? What are you even talking about? I didn't say anything was wrong with forgiveness, so I'm not sure what you are picking up on. Maybe you should just rewind to before and see. Absolutely nothing is wrong with forgiveness, and the more that you read of the religion of love, you will find that God and Goddess forgive us, and they love us, and they are there to extend that forgiveness to us, no matter what we have done and where we're at, and to help us out of the situations that we're in, like good parents. So, all right, I'm going to jump off of here soon because I'm going to meet up with some friends for the Ashland parade, but I am always thankful to join with you all, and especially hope that you are getting something from the noonday peace contemplations as I am. It keeps reminding me of bringing light and love into these different areas of my life, and so it's definitely helping me, and I hope that it's helping you as well. David E says that the God of the Bible is not our real creator, but a demon who requires killing and keeps us in ignorance of the feminine divine. Yeah, I need to do a concise preaching on this, but even in this book, Abraham comes and says, to this false Yahweh that says, hey, come and sacrifice your son and all of these things. He's like, no, God would require that. That's demonic. And so it's really cool to see that the actual founding fathers of our religion knew better. Before growing up in mainstream Christianity, it's like Abraham, yeah, that's a hard thing to deal with. It's like, especially coming from a maternal perspective, if a God asked me to sacrifice my child, like I would have problems with that. Like I'm not even, like, yeah. So this story makes a lot more sense, and I really appreciate it and love it. So that being said, I'm going to jump off of here and hope that you will read the Holy Megillah. Artist says these hangouts always put me in a good mood. Oh, thanks. Well, me too. No matter if I'm having a bad day or whatever, other things that are going on, that are happening in my life, it really helps me to do this and connect and pray and just try to make an effort to focus on the spiritual stuff. Hello Nexus says, I started getting into fasting and realized I still have a lot of energy after a 2-day fast. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it can be hard to kind of transition to the energy that you get from even being in the sun and grounding in that soul kind of energy to what we've been used to on a physical level, like especially coming from a family that loves to eat. I keep telling you about how much gluttony is like my issue. We love to eat, and that feeling of like feeling full, you feel really bogged down. And so there's a lot of difference in purifying yourself and like understanding that actually being full doesn't mean that you've bogged yourself down so much that you need a 2-hour nap after Thanksgiving dinner, right? So yeah, it's a really cool journey, and I appreciate you sharing that and your journey. And yeah, I want to get more into fasting myself. Cody says the Old Testament is to tell us about the Kenites, sons of Cain. Well, if you really want to learn about the Cainites, I would encourage you to read the Holy Megillah, the Nazarean Bible of the Essene way, in which we hear that the false Yahweh actually convinced Adam to rape Eve to take her against her will. And this is when Cain was conceived. And then he actually proceeds to take the embryo out of Eve's womb and raise this baby on the side away from all of the goodness that Adam and Eve are doing with Abdiel. The false Yahweh raises Cain over here to be the first priest of the serpent brotherhood on this world. And he not only came from rape, but he was raised to be a killer. He birthed Lilith, who went on to mate with the false Yahweh and birth Sargon, which was evil incarnate on this world. So very, very interesting stuff. We literally learn about how Cain came into existence in this book, which makes a lot more sense when we see the contrast between the false Yahweh telling Adam to go and have his way with Eve against her will, and then the Immaculate Conception and these souls that are conceived in this beautiful spiral dance of masculine and feminine together in an uplifting way. And it's just so beautiful. And so that being said, I would encourage you to read it because it is just really uplifting. And yeah, there's a very big difference between the ways that souls are conceived, and we should be very cautious about how we're conceiving souls. If you are not a parent yet, I would encourage you to stay that way for the time being until crap hits the fan and just let things ride out, because we're already in the time of the sixth trumpet where humans start to merge with AI. And I want to be a mom. Like that's the only thing that I even want to exist for. And so coming from someone that wants to be a mom, please don't. These times are going to be treacherous, and we don't want to have to see children suffering through the times of famine or the times of war, where you're like deciding, should I chip up with AI and be able to get some bread for my baby, or should I just go and die, right? So there's some really serious decisions that are coming down the line, and those that have children should really be preparing for those futures that the powers that be have planned. And that's not to be scared, that's to be prepared, right? Knowing that death isn't the end and that you can prepare and that there's divine protection is really important. But yeah, being prepared in what ways you can. So, all right, that being said, hello, Josh. How's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. I'm going to jump off of here and I will catch up with you in just a few hours when the Ashland Parade is going for Halloween so that you can see what's going on downtown. I hope that you have